Now, the alternator is the hero of your car's charging and electrical system. A lot of folks talk about the battery, but that is not the case, Matt. Once you start adding accessories to your system, that's when it starts to take its toll on the alternator and the entire system. What are some of the things that can go wrong if you're not making enough power in your alternator?
Well, I mean, low voltage. I mean, it kills your performance of your fuel pumps. Fans move less air. You can have overheating problems, low engine RPM. All kinds of things can, even ignition electrical problems can occur. So maintaining a good, happy, constant voltage all the time is critical. And most people have that problem at low RPM.
And I see that with hot rods a lot.
Yep.
If you're out there cruising or just driving around, slowly like you do, then you start to get some problems.
Everything gets hot, your air conditioning's running, your cooling fans are running, voltage starts to drop. When that happens, your fans don't move as much air, your air conditioning can even get warmer. I mean, there's all kinds of things can happen.
So what are some of the solutions that Mechman has to offer?
We use late model technology in our alternators, and all we do is we come up with a housing or fitment for earlier applications, like this Corvette, for example. And it produces twice as much amperage as most of our competitors' alternators do at idle, specifically at low RPM engine speed. That's the primary difference. They also come with 2 rectifiers inside, so you have twice as many diodes to dissipate the heat, a lot more cooling, makes it more durable. This makes the alternator last longer and also doesn't let it overheat as easily.
Heat is the enemy of most parts on a car. How does it affect an alternator?
Well, it basically reduces the cycle life of the alternator, and also the hotter the alternator gets, the lower the voltage is going to go. So by maintaining a lower operating temperature, you maintain a more healthy voltage at low RPM when it's hot.
So let's talk about alternators from Mechman. You mentioned you're making more than the competitors out there. What variety, what vehicles does Mechman cover?
We do everything from late model Suburbans and industrial trucks. We have a really good marine program for boats. We actually OEM for a lot of marine manufacturers. And we have them for all your popular Ford, Chevy, Dodge, street rod type applications as well.
What if I've done something special, maybe a one-off deal, got a crate motor or something like that. What can I do and how do I find out what my options are?
Well, we actually have a special program just for motor swaps, popular Ford Coyote, LS engines, Dodge Hellcats, things like that, where we actually put a single ignition wire, a switched wire to go on that unit, where you don't have to have the factory ECU. If you're running Motec or Haltech or Holley, any aftermarket EFI, you can just hook up this one ignition switch wire to that alternator and it'll turn on and off, regulate itself, no problem.
And as far as installation goes, now you installed one here on the 67 Corvette. What's it like compared to installing an OEM unit?
Well, it depends on the application. Some vehicles are harder than others, but this alternator just fell right in place. It's actually an aftermarket accessory drive on here from street shops, and we have an alternator that it's the exact same fitment as the OEM GM alternator that they use, just makes a lot more output at idle.
And to begin the process, of course, before you do it, you want to make sure you take a picture of the serpentine belt, make sure you know where that thing's going to go before you do it, and I'm sure you guys say that in your instructions, they're very detailed. What are the next steps?
Well, you want to make sure that your wires are properly sized for the amperage of the alternator. We make alternators up to 400 amps. In this case, it's a 170 amp alternator. But you want to make sure that your cables are the right size for the amount of amperage that you're pushing through there. Our instructions have that information in there, so it's real easy.
And it's not just alternators for hot rods. You mentioned boats and that sort of thing. What about special applications? Our friends with big booming stereos, and they're entering competitions and running all kinds of power to the stereo.
We even have dual alternator kits available for late model GM trucks, so you can actually run 2 400 amp alternators if you have a massive stereo system in there. So we try and accommodate everyone.
Now, of course, the technology keeps evolving, but the company Mechman's been around since the 70s. How do you manage to stay relevant?
Well, we keep an eye on OEM technology. New vehicles are coming out with better alternators all the time. We take that technology, whatever the best technology is that's available, and we apply it to other applications where it may not be available yet.
You've mentioned with hot rods here, folks getting crate motors, Coyotes, and LS engines and that sort of thing. What if I haven't upgraded that and I'm still running my original engine from back when I bought the vehicle?
It's no problem at all. We have fitments for that as well. I got a 67 Cadillac I like to drive every day, and I put one of those on there, bolted right in, no big deal.
If you have a classic car like this Corvette, you want to keep it running well and you want to keep it running for a long time, you can do that with an alternator from Mechman. Go to Mechman.com.